Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whoever you love, we welcome you. Whoever you love, we welcome you.
Support for WBFO, your NPR station, comes from our members and from the Unitarian Universalists of Amherst. UU Amherst is an open-minded, open-hearted faith community whose members value love, learning, and hope. The UU's mission is to foster compassion, justice, and interdependence on earth. UU of Amherst is located at 6320 Main Street in Williamsville and has a Living Green Festival September 9th through 11th. www.uuamherst.org.
Wow. It's so good to be back. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Amherst. I'm Reverend Michelle, the happy minister of this congregation. My pronouns, which I offer to create a truly inclusive and brave space for all to live into the fullness of their identities, are she and her. I am joined up front today by Amy Malachowski, who is one of our music team. If you were here a little early, you saw the video, and all-around good sport. So thank you, Amy. As Unitarian Universalists, we are people of the wide path, engaging in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, and coming together to make a difference. And we are so glad that you have chosen to be here virtually and in person. For those gathered in the chapel, I invite you to put your phones on reverence mode, silencing them so that you and others may be fully present and free from distraction. The order of our service today follows the path of the labyrinth, entering, engaging, and emerging. We enter into this sacred time, set aside for the purpose of recognizing and paying attention to that which our soul requires. Now, you may have noticed as you came in that there is a round table at the back of the chapel with rocks and flower petals and other mysterious elements on it, all natural things. We are beginning a new thing, creating a morning altar together. And you are welcome to contribute to the emerging design, bring stuff. It should be pretty amazing in about a month when we have all of the colorful leaves. I hope that you will bring those in. But each Sunday, we will create this living altar. And it's a study in impermanence because, well, the rocks will be available all the time, but the other elements, they will wither and they will go back out into nature when I take them out and reset the area for the next morning altar that we will create together. So following the sermon today, first of all, there are paper orders of service, so you can follow along. I only made one mistake, which I feel is very good in the first time back with paper orders of service. But following the sermon part, the homily, there will be a time of meditation. And at that time, if you wish, you might want to come up and place another stone on the labyrinth up here or light a candle, or you may want to add to that morning altar or just observe it. Or just stay seated and enjoy 3 minutes of shared quiet and music and letting the words and the ideas kind of settle in a little bit. It is now time for our land acknowledgement. Also doing this a little differently. As we gather, we acknowledge that our church is built on occupied land that once belonged to the First Nations people of this region, the Haudenosaunee, and the people known as the Neutrals, who were here before them. May we be good stewards of the land and courageously cultivate community with all living things.
We arrive out of many singular rooms, walking over the branching streets. We come to be assured that loving friends surround us, to restore their images onto our eyes. We enlarge our voices in common speaking and singing. We try again that solitude found in the midst of those who walk with us, seek their hidden reckonings. Our eyes reclaim the remembered faces, their voices stir the surrounding air. The warmth of their hands assures us, and the gladness of our spoken names. This is the reason of cities, of homes, of assemblies in the houses of worship. It is good to be with one another.
I'm delighted to be back following a 4-month sabbatical, which this congregation generously supported and affirmed. Although being away was incredibly hard for me, it was also transformative and life-giving. My many thanks to the sabbatical team, the guest speakers and musicians, our tech team, and all of you who kept things rolling, and also found new areas of ministry and leadership to move our beloved community forward. And what do I mean by beloved community? I mean a gathering of people who have chosen to journey together, to encourage one another, and to be part of something important and life-changing. Because we aspire to be such a people, we make bold promises about how we will be with one another. I invite you to join me as we affirm the sacred promise we have pledged. Together we promise to gather in compassionate community, to celebrate diversity of thought and unity of spirit, and to seek wholeness for ourselves, our children, and our world. So Amy and I are going to teach you a new song, because you love to learn new songs. And guess what? It's a round. Welcome back, Michelle. We're so glad you're here. Okay. So I'm going to play the notes so that you can know them. I'm playing them without the benefit of music, so anything could happen right now, really. But it's at least to get Amy and I started on the correct notes, okay? That little flourish didn't really belong. Okay. So we're going to sing it through once. And then we'll sing it together a couple of times, and then we'll try around, so don't be afraid. So it goes like this. We are weaving our lives. Just listen the first time through, unless you're telepathic, in which case, please join us. We're going to start it again. So just listen with your ears. We are weaving our lives. We are weaving our hearts and our minds. We are weaving the bright and dark threads of our journeys through. Now we'll sing a line and you sing a line. Let us sing it first. We are weaving our lives. Your turn. We are weaving our lives. We are weaving our hearts and our minds. We are weaving our hearts and our minds. We are weaving the bright and dark threads of our journeys through. I have to figure out where the note starts. We are weaving the bright and dark threads of our journeys through. And I'm giving you hints. If it's a low note, my hand will suddenly go very low. So make your voice go where my hand goes. Okay, perfect. We're going to sing it 2 times together, and you'll get it a little bit more each time. And then we're going to throw caution to the wind. It'll be chaos, and it'll be fabulous. Here we go. We are weaving our lives. We are weaving our hearts and our minds. We are weaving the bright and dark threads of our journeys through. We are weaving our lives. We are weaving our hearts and our minds. We are weaving the bright and dark threads of our journeys through. You are my side. We're going to be the leaders. No pressure. We are weaving our lives.
We are weaving our lives.
We are weaving our hearts and
We
our
are weaving
minds.
our hearts and our minds.
We
are weaving the bright and dark threads of our journey through.
We are weaving our
We
lives.
are weaving our
We are
lives.
weaving our hearts and
We
our
are weaving
minds.
our hearts and our minds. We are weaving the bright and dark threads of our journeys through.
Yeah, we did that. It was awesome. All right, I'm just going to get my tablet so I know what I'm doing. Perfect. So I had a lot of time this summer to think about my life, the work I do, what I do when I'm not doing the work I do, which was a bit of a challenge. And you'll hear a little bit more about that in a little bit. But I would really like to hear from you. So I'm going to ask you a question, and it has parentheses. I want to know about, I can't frame it as a question, a statement. I would like to know about your life's work, parentheses, which may or may not include what you do or did for a living. Curious about your life's work, which may or may not have something to do with what you do or did as a job. And then this is the part where the bravery that you just stirred up in yourselves by learning a new song and singing it as a round comes into play by raising your hand, and I and my new knee will scamper over with the microphone because I can.
My life's work is to grow in my authenticity.
See, it can just be short sentences too. I could dance over here.
I would say my life's work is helping other people.
I identified this in some serious group work years ago. I'm a stand for world peace and healing. And even in those years as an Erie County prosecutor, finishing up in the drug treatment court realm, I'd quit with the coordinator. My motto was prosecution with compassion. The point was, to treat everyone equally, everyone fairly, and apply our constitutional rules of rule of law, due process, and fundamental fairness. That's what it was about.
All right, now, this is another layer. Oh, okay. I'm like, people are pointing, but I didn't see anything.
Sorry, I was late on the draw. My life's work is love and finding love and supporting love and growing love and loving and advocating love.
So you can still answer this question, but now I'm going to add a layer. What activity, which immediately, well, it doesn't immediately move anything out of the possibilities, but think activity makes your heart sing, an activity that you participate in that makes your heart sing.
September 29th will be 20 years of retirement. December 4th, hit the road in an RV. In 2010, Alicia came aboard. And we've seen a good chunk of the continent, a good, beautiful chunk of the continent, and so much of it was a surprise to round a bend, over a hill, see the beauty out there.
That was a twofer, wasn't it? What makes your heart sing? What is your life's work?
Waking up in the morning and being alive.
Hallelujah, right? Yeah, it can really be just the things that we often just take for granted. Makes your heart sing. Okay. Whoop.
What makes my heart sing is being connected with my twin and our joined mission of helping people have healthy lives.
Another twofer. I love it. Okay, well, I want you to keep pondering. I won't be carrying the microphone out again, so you're safe. But so you are allowed to ponder. Whoop.
I have great summer, and I reading every day. I'm very smart guy, and I know everything.
Sam, what
And
makes your heart sing the most, or what makes you the happiest?
I just doing math every day, and just smart and very doable. And one more thing, this is very much. Let's go Bills.
That was awesome.
Okay. Each of us carries with us into this time cares and concerns, joys and sorrows. Together we create the container where we can put down our burdens, knowing they are held gently by this gathered community. For those joining virtually, I invite you to give voice to that which is on your heart, or perhaps type it into the chat in the live stream. For those here in the chapel, I invite you to come forward and place a stone or shell on the table labyrinth in recognition of that which is on your heart. join me in a communal response. In this gathered community, we hold one another and the world in love. Now, please join me in Spirit of Life, Gray Hymnal 123 if you're new.
Do the next slide,
Next slide. Oh, it has the words.
Yep.
There you go.
which you can't see.
Which you can't see, yeah.
All right. Feel free to stand if you like.
Oh, and rise in body or in spirit. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Oh, in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving light the ship of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. You may be seated.
With ritual and song, we have entered the labyrinth of connection and transformation. We find ourselves now at the center, ready to engage hearts and minds. We begin with these words from Gareth Higgins, author of How Not to Be Afraid. If you've peeked at the newsletter or at our website, then you know that we'll be engaging more deeply with Mr. Higgins' thoughts in a week or two. Our opening words are in the form of a blessing for discovering that the ordinary is always extraordinary. When the morning comes, may you wake up letting your grip on the night slip away and turn over to greet yourself. It's a new day, and you are here. There is no less love on this day than there was on your best. No fewer opportunities to make more love. The crystal exfoliation of water on the skin, the shiny green freshness of the apple in the fruit bowl, the zero gravity of feet on the ground, eyes closed, thankful. The transcendental space occupied by the first and the next and the last persons you see. The heart in the music you will hear. May you come to experience the deep knowing that the purpose of time is to show you are alive, and so may you come no longer to be dominated by, but to dance with time. May you come to know your life's work, and so may you enjoy the mingling of mission with work and play. May you hear the inner voice of meaning, and thus may you come to your own story so that you can write the ending. Something shifted in the world in a fundamental way in early 2020. At the time, as I was pondering clever ways to talk about 2020 vision, the way we saw the world and our place in the midst of the busyness of the second decade of the 21st century, everything changed abruptly and quite possibly for good. And I mean that in both ways, for good, as in forever, and for good, as in a positive change that came out of extreme disruption and loss. And of course, I'm talking about COVID. COVID changed everything. It challenged all of our assumptions. We learned that office workers can work from home. So can school children learn from home. That was harder. We learned that with just a few weeks of travel restrictions, nature would fill in the gaps. Suddenly, without the constant hum of traffic or the roar of jets overhead, we could hear songbirds. Dolphins returned to the canals of Venice. Air pollution in cities dropped. The world stage was forced to go unplugged, and we rediscovered the beauty of the acoustic experience. People adopted dogs and went outside and talked to their neighbors, probably for the first time in decades. Oh, but don't worry. The planes and the traffic are back, the dolphins have retreated, and people are returning dogs to shelters as thoughtlessly as returning an ill-fitting pair of pants. We may have had a beautiful aha experience in the midst of unthinkable disruption and loss, but we didn't really learn anything. Except maybe we did. Maybe we did learn something, or are learning something still. We learned an important phrase: essential workers. These workers included medical personnel, but they also included those in retail, service, or in blue-collar jobs. Those jobs that offered no opportunities for remote work, like those office workers at home. According to one 2020 study published in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, nearly 45% of non-white women in low-wage jobs worked in the service industry during the early days of the pandemic. 45%. And about 60% of men of any race in low-wage jobs worked in blue-collar professions. The death rate of Black workers has been higher than any other racial group because the work they do exposes them to higher risks of infection. How does a wage earner decide between going to work and risking illness and staying home with family and risk impoverishment? 2.5 years later, we have vaccines. We have oodles of them. But we're still living with COVID, what I'm going to call worldwide long COVID. Even if you and your beloveds have managed not to become ill, you are living with the effects of social long COVID. My neighbor hasn't had a working kitchen in 2.5 years. Her dining room is stacked floor to ceiling with the boxes containing the new cupboards, but she hasn't been able to order significant things like countertops because of supply and shipping issues. And of course, securing a contractor has been nearly impossible. Have you noticed all of the help wanted signs? They're everywhere. In the midst of a global pandemic, many low-wage, high-risk essential workers decided that their lives are worth more than an inadequate hourly wage and uncertain work hours. But it's not only the low-wage earners who have decided that life is short and work need not be soul-crushing. Have you heard the phrase quiet quitting? So in the early 20th century, that was called the rule of work, meaning that workers just did what was required of them, no extra hours or going beyond their duties. It's become such an expectation in the 21st century and in the form of capitalism that permeates our culture for workers at every wage level to provide hours and services that far exceed what they're actually being paid to do. That simply doing one's job is considered quiet quitting. Or perhaps you've heard of the Great Resignation. It's happening all around us in every profession. Religious professionals during the epidemic found that congregations' expectations for connection and excellence, as we all learned how to produce online content on the fly, was just unrealistic and unrelenting. There has been a mass exodus of clergy in all faith traditions. In our small Unitarian Universalist universe, the exodus has been so great that this year there were twice as many congregations seeking a minister as there were ministers available. Some ministers have been called out of retirement to try to fill in some of the gaps. And some ministers found respite and renewal in sabbatical time and are ready to carry on. So let's take a moment and regroup where we've been this morning. So far this morning, we've had some conversation about the work, paid or unpaid, that is your life's work, and that which makes your heart sing. Work doesn't have to be a four-letter word. It really can be filled with purpose, and it can be quite satisfying. We know that our work changes over time, and our work changes us. The work of children is play. Why do we lose sight of this? Each moment of discovery creates new pathways in our brains, develops fine and gross motor skills, or teaches us social skills, and some things do all of that. Now, I can neither confirm nor deny if those cutie pies on the screen are Les's and my grand-twins. You know you love them. Okay. So we're talking about work today because it's Labor Day weekend. In addition to being a holiday and the signal that summer is on the downhill side, sorry, summer lovers, not sorry. Labor Day is an opportunity to pause and consider the work we have done and the work we do, whether or not we are paid in exchange for our energies. It's a time to remember those who fought for workers' rights and to take our place to ensure that those rights are not eroded and that safe conditions and fair compensation are available to everyone, no matter their age, the color of their skin, or any other measurement. I borrowed, rather heavy-handedly, the title of one of Shakespeare's plays for the service today. I confess, I just like the wordplay. There's absolutely nothing to do with the content of Love's Labour's Lost. Although I imagine that Shakespeare enjoyed his work, creating memorable characters, challenging himself with the intricacies of iambic pentameter, and coming up with fancy new insults, which the Buhite family owns 2 mugs in case we run out of things to say. Love's Labor Lost and Found was the best way I could describe my experience of being away on sabbatical, away from work for 4 months. I recognize that this definitely falls under first world problems, but sabbatical was really hard for me. It didn't help that I combined getting a total knee replacement with the sabbatical. So instead of doing what I thought I would do, which would be reading all kinds of theological books, yeah, that didn't happen. I was watching a lot of TV because that was all my brain could manage. If you would like to know anything about the 7 seasons of The Mentalist, I would be happy to bring you up to speed. And I still can't read minds, so I don't know. Being disconnected from church helped me to realize that I had been over-functioning to an alarming degree for 7 years. Les and I had not developed any friendships outside of church, and I had to ask and answer the very hard question, who am I outside of my role as minister? It's a pretty all-consuming job, and the years of pandemic really only magnified rather than diminished that. Working predominantly from home meant that I was pretty much working all the time. And since I couldn't sort of check in with folks on Sunday mornings because we weren't meeting in person for so long, it meant finding alternate ways and times to keep those connections strong. And then, there was rounding up musicians. Thank you, Amy. Choosing and recording the music. And then suddenly, out of all of this activity, I was out of the loop and on my couch, wondering what I was going to do with myself for 4 whole months. Being your minister is a labor of love. Becoming a minister made my crazy quilt resume finally make some sense. My work and my sense of purpose are aligned, and that is an incredibly privileged place to be. It was during the second half of the sabbatical that I felt like love's labor lost had been found again. I started a 2-year continuing education program that excites me. Feel free to ask me about it. I joined the Y, I know, surprise, to continue what physical therapy began with my knee recovery. And Les and I went to our region's Summer Institute, affirming that we do indeed have friends. We even reconnected with some local friends, went out to dinner, things that people do that we had not done for years. I finally realized in this time that paying attention to my personal life can only feed and strengthen my professional life. Nearly 60. My mom always said I was a late bloomer. So I wonder what your love's labor is, and if maybe you've lost it. It may or may not have something to do with what you do for a living. In the article from Yes magazine, where I got some of the statistics that I mentioned earlier, it was suggested that instead of asking a new acquaintance, what do you do, or where do you work, we might lead with, how do you spend your time? How do you spend your time? I hope it's doing something that feeds your soul, maybe even something that makes your heart sing or hum. If you're feeling a little lost as to what that might even be, the first step is to think back to a time when you had that feeling of alignment, of purpose. You might have to go back a long way, or maybe just to the hobby you had made time for in the past. Maybe your heart sings when you are in service to others. If you are unsure, you might ask a friend or a loved one to help you recall, or perhaps even reinvent. I close this with this thought. Being in service to others can fill our cup, feed our soul, and maybe, just maybe, make our hearts sing. As our Unitarian ancestor and author Henry David Thoreau reminds us, don't just be good for something. I'm going to invite you in a moment to rise in body or spirit as we sing together. We'll be singing For All That Is Our Life, which is 128 in the gray hymnal. Please note, because we're going to be singing along with the recording, which has been a challenge and will continue to be for a while, there is a piano interlude between verses 3 and 4. So unless you'd like to have a solo, just bear that in mind. Okay, I invite you to rise as you will. And the words will be up front, too.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks.
may be seated. So we're going to pause a moment to take in words and ideas, things that bubbled up for you. During this time of meditation and quiet reflection, I invite you to make room for that which your soul requires. As I mentioned earlier, maybe that means coming up and placing another stone on the labyrinth, or lighting a candle at the back, or participating in the morning altar, or just staying where you are and letting those ideas sort of soak in. Les, after 2 minutes or so, go ahead and just bring the sound down and we'll let it go. Our journey this morning has mirrored the inward journey of the labyrinth, entering the sacred space through ritual and song, engaging hearts and minds with ideas and experiences. And now we move into the final act of emergence, embodying and acting upon what we have discovered. We bless one another, and we move into the week ahead refreshed and ready to make a difference in our world. I invite you to join me in a shared reading as we bless ourselves and one another. The reading is very familiar because it's the one you heard me read earlier, and now we will participate in that. I will read as one, and Amy will lead all of you in the part that says many. When the morning comes, may you wake up, letting your grip on the night slip away, and turn over to greet yourself. It's a new day, and you are here.
There is no less love on this day than there was on your best. No fewer opportunities to make more love.
The crystal exfoliation of water on the skin, the shiny green freshness of the apple in the fruit bowl, the zero gravity of feet on the ground, eyes closed, thankful.
The transcendental space occupied by the first and the next and the last persons you see, the heart in the music you will hear.
May you come to experience the deep knowing that the purpose of time is to show you are alive. And so may you come no longer to be dominated by, but to dance with time.
May you come to know your life's work, and so may you enjoy the mingling of mission with work and play.
May you hear the inner voice of meaning, and thus may you come to your own story so that you can write the ending. Our service is drawing to an end, which means our service to the world is ready to begin. So let me tell you about some of the opportunities to connect and serve in the days to come. We have our Living Green Festival coming up this coming weekend, and just be ready, folks. We need all hands on deck. Practice at home in the mirror saying, yes, I'd love to do that. Yes, thank you for thinking of me. Yes, I can work an extra shift. So practice that, okay? Just in case you get a call. So that's coming up this coming weekend. Next Sunday is our annual in-gathering service, where we bring water from our adventures, whether those were adventures of the mind and it comes from your tap, or from your rain barrel, or from someplace fabulous that you went, or there will be magic water that is the source of whatever you are grateful for and whatever you bring to the community. And so it's a full contact sport participation to bring our in-gathering and really start our year together, our church year. I will note that there will be a reading group starting in October. Watch the newsletter and website, based on Gareth Higgins' book, How Not to Be Afraid. Game-changing book. I read it with my eyes a couple of times. I listened to it on Audible. It's really good. And also, I would be remiss if I were to forget to tell you that you can also be an active participant with your financial gifts to this congregation. And there are many ways to give. You can go to our website, uuamherst.org. Our text line is on the screen. For those of you in the chapel, there are baskets in the back, and you can just so conveniently just drop your offering in. And we say thank you for that. So I invite you to, we're not there yet, Alex. I'll let you know. We're so close. But first we have to sing one more time because I'm back and I like to sing with you. So we're going to rise and sing Travel Light and Travel Easy. We're going to do it a cappella, but you know this, and Amy and I are here to help. And just occasionally, steal a glance around you because you're really singing this to each other, not to the front of the room. Okay? So go ahead, rise and bow to your spirit. We'll try to all sing it in the same key. Here we go. Travel light and travel easy till I see you once again. Travel light and travel easy, and remember I'm your friend. May the road rise up to greet you as you leave your past behind. I will think about you gently, and I'll hold you in my mind. Look at one another. Travel light and travel easy till I see you once again. Travel light and travel easy, and remember I'm your friend. Please remain standing as we finally extinguish the chalice. So Alex, the extinguisher is, I know, I'm just letting you know where it is. It's, Alex, it's right here, it's behind. Okay, thank you. I know. So recently, our Board of Trustees used this affirmation as they extinguished the chalice at the end of their meeting, and I loved the message of it. So we're going to share these closing words. When we take the fire from our chalice, it does not become less, it becomes more. And so we extinguish our chalice, but we take its light and warmth with us, multiplying their power by all of our lives and sharing it with the world. Go in peace.